Good evening, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Football Experience podcast. I'm your host today, Josh. We're joined again by Javen, Jed, and we've got a guest today, Jack. It's good to see you,
Wow.
Jack. Good to have you.
Uh,
Nice to have you. Nice to have you. Now, we're going to start this episode by just reviewing the quarterfinals and what everyone's sort of viewpoints are on it, and then we'll go to predictions for the next round. So, we'll start with Spain versus Germany to begin with, guys. So, obviously, Spain won 2-1 in the end. But what were you guys' thoughts on it? Who would like to go first? That is the question. Should we start with you, Javen?
yeah, why not? I thought Germany were robbed. No, Spain were really good. It was the game that people were really saying, whichever one wins is going to be most likely to win the tournament. So it's a real shame that we had to lose one of them in a way, because you could argue two of the best teams or among the best teams left in the tournament. But yeah, it was a really good clash, especially in the second half. But I personally thought Germany should have had a penalty. There was some debate over the offside beforehand in the run up, but I thought it was a bit harsh. But congratulations to Spain. Very good side, and they deserve as much as anyone else to be through to the semis. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jed?
I, I sort of agree. It was a close game. But the hosts never win. Ultimately, they never win the Euros. So I thought Spain were gonna win it, but it was tight. It could have gone to pens, but Mikel Merino's header in the last minute was incredible. Incredible scenes there, and you got to be gutted for those. And Cruz, as it's his last tournament, but Spain look really exciting, and I'm glad they're in the semis because it's going to be a good setup for the next game.
These Cruz took Pedri with him.
I know he's out. He's got ligament damage now, hasn't he? I think he'll be out for the rest of the tournament by the sounds of it, which is a bit sort of like you kind of want to see him in it, but that's just the nature of the game, isn't it? Jack, what did you make of Spain versus Germany?
I think it like Jed said, it was a very, very close game. And as Javen said, whoever wins out of those two would go on to win the tournament. I think that's very true. I think Spain definitely have the players and the play to do that, to win the Euros. They've been outstanding all throughout, as have Germany. It is unfortunate for Germany, because they did play a good game. And they've also got a wide range of players like Musiala. Havertz has been great. Wirtz as well. So it is unfortunate for Germany, but I think Spain will go all the way.
Yeah, I've predicted that as well. My final prediction for the final, which we'll get into a little bit later down the line, but I predicted Spain would get through to the final as well. They've just been excellent throughout the whole tournament. They don't really seem to have been disturbed too much by anything that happens in any of their games. I wanted them to go through like during that game anyway. But yeah, like that was it. Like the last, what was it, 50 seconds of the game, they scored the winner in extra time, and I was like, oh my goodness! Like it was one of those games. Like I was on the edge of the seat for the whole thing. And it was a really, really good match. That one, definitely one to have watched if you could have, of course. But we'll move to the next game now then. So it's Portugal versus France. What did you guys make about that game? Who shall we start with? Should we start with Jed first this time?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, we should have really predicted it to be quite a snooze fest after, France still haven't scored from open play yet in the whole tournament. And again, they drew 0-0 with Portugal and then scraped through on penalties. A bit disappointing considering both the attacking talent that both teams have. Portugal and Mbappe, of course, meeting for the first time in ages. And yeah, it was Battle of the Titans, but it was a tight game. And all the games have been very cagey, especially between the big teams. So as we'll go on to find out with the other two quarterfinals. But I think Costa, I thought Costa would make another save, considering he's the hero of the last penalty shootout, but France had enough to win it in the end. So
Yeah, no, I agree. Jack, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a close game. Definitely, as Jed said, France not scoring from open play yet. That is, that's very new for a team like France. You wouldn't expect that from them. I will say though, Jules Koundé has been a star player for them this Euros. But Kylian Mbappe has been very quiet. He's not done a lot for France, which you'd expect him to do, and he didn't do a lot. In the previous game against Portugal. And I think that Portugal were unfortunate to not get through. They looked the better side in that match, that's for sure. And it's just unfortunate for Portugal. And I think that France will go out next game.
Yeah, they've been definitely lackluster, haven't they? Very lackluster. Javen, what did you make of that game?
Absolutely gutted once again. I may have been hoping for Germany to win against Spain, but I was really hoping Portugal would beat France. Now, you England fans haven't been particularly enjoying watching England play. I feel similarly watching France this tournament. Can't stand them. They drive me up the wall. They're so defensive. They're good at what they do, but it's just annoying. It really is. And as has been said before, Portugal were probably arguably the better side in open play. But it's more emotional because you see two legends of the game potentially playing their last competitive football in a tournament for Portugal. 41-year-old Pepe, 39-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. Both very emotional at the end of the match. Played together for so long. So as a football fan, it sucks to think that we might not see them play together for Portugal again in the future. At least not both of them anyway. But that's what it is. France are through. That's the luck of the draw when it comes to penalties. Very unfortunate, but we move on.
Absolutely. And, going back to that point that I think they've scored more own goals, or at least more own goals have gone in than they've actually scored themselves. So it's just, like you said, Jack, it's something that you don't see from France. They're usually really dominant. They will. You look at. I said this. I think it was the last episode. Actually, it's the first time I've ever seen France very vulnerable at a competition like this. Because they always just. They're one of those teams that you just think that they're going to go to the final no matter what. It obviously seems like it's going to be the case again this time, but they've not done it convincingly at all. They've scraped through results. They've relied on penalties in the last game. And it's just, it's been the worst performance in a tournament so far for France that I can remember. But speaking of Ronaldo, we'll talk, a couple of minutes about him. Do you think he'll be at the next World Cup maybe, or the next major tournament?
Yeah, if Pepe is playing for Portugal now, I think Ronaldo's he's got a couple more years left in. Not to do anything, but he'll be a presence there. Maybe Portugal take him and leave him on the bench more and use him as a super sub, which makes more sense being at the age he is. But being the personality and character he wants to be on the pitch, he wants to be making a difference. But it just doesn't happen for him in this one. It's the first time he hasn't scored at a Euros or
in any competition, for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. So he's always scored in any competition. This is the first time.
Yeah.
Which is sad. He did try with all those free kicks though, didn't he?
As well, following Josh's point about, France's worst performance being in the Euros. Like, if you look at them, how they were in the World Cup, like not so long ago, they were fantastic. They were absolutely amazing. They could have won it that very moment when Colin Moani took the shot. It could have been the moment they won it. And then after that, they've just gone completely downwards. It's like Argentina rocked them completely, and their form just went completely under the carpet. So France have been
No,
very, very bad this
Yeah.
Euros.
I'll have to agree. Javen, what do you think?
I think it's another thing that's very sad about this tournament that Ronaldo never got his goal because he was in such good form in the run up to the tournament. Admittedly, pre-season friendlies and pre-tournament friendlies, should I say, but in their qualifying games as well, he just looked sharp again. He looked like he was a threat in front of goal.
Yeah.
And I was certain we were going to see more of it in that regard. But it's not transpired that way. Will he play at the World Cup? It's possible, but it kind of depends on his expectations. He cannot be the main man all the time. He cannot expect to play the full 90 minutes because he could barely do it this tournament. That's not to say he's not still good at what he does, but he's just not the same player that he was years ago. It's
Yeah.
just a fact of him getting older. So if he is going to be available for Portugal and Portugal still want to make use of him, he may have to get used to sitting on the bench a bit more often and giving way to Ramos or some other players that can, the next generation that maybe have a bit more legs in them, so to speak, and Ronaldo can come on later on if needs be. But will Ronaldo accept that? Time will tell. It might be preferable to him over retiring because Ronaldo doesn't seem to ever want to retire, does he?
No.
But will it also be different if Pepe's not in the squad? These are all things that only time will tell.
Yeah. And Martinez, the manager for Portugal, he was saying, Ronaldo had made it to that squad that year based on merit, and that he'd earned his right to be there. Obviously, everyone's had that sort of speculation about the Saudi League. Is it that great? To still score, I think it was like 35 goals or something this season for Al Nassr. He did earn it, but I think that at the top flight level, like you guys have mentioned, he's just not really cut out for it anymore. Whether or not he starts for the first 60 minutes, then gets substituted, or as you guys said, comes on as a sub. I don't think at the next tournament he will be starting, because he's just not got that cutting edge like he used to, like we've mentioned. But there we go. We'll move on to our next game then. England versus Switzerland. I won't start with you, Jacob, this time. I will start with Jack. What did you make of England, Switzerland?
Right. Well, being as I'm the one that said, look, like, I want England to win it, knowing deep down that they probably won't, but they did well against Switzerland. I was surprised to see how well they did against Switzerland, to be fair. They dominated possession. They had the ball from the get-go and to the end. And then obviously, when it went to penalties, but they had the ball all the way to the end and they dominated. Saka was brilliant. They all worked as a collective. And that was what we want to see from England. That's the type of football we want to see. So we can have the hope that they actually might win it, and it might actually come home. But yeah, I think Switzerland had a fair chance of going the distance as well. They were a dark horse, and they definitely had the players. But I think England played well in that game, and they definitely, if they play like that in the next game, they'll definitely go to the final.
Absolutely, and Switzerland have been a really good team. We talked about it in the first episode. I think it was that they beat Italy 2-0. They drew to Germany, the hosts. Scotland, Switzerland drew again. Hungary won. Switzerland 3. And then friendly matches before that was Switzerland versus Austria. They both drew. So the last 5 games have been pretty good. They haven't, obviously now, of course, they have lost, but they hadn't lost prior to that for at least the last 5 games or so. So they had done well up until that particular point, and they'd proved themselves. Excuse me, Switzerland had against opposition. So yeah, they were definitely a good squad to face and sort of challenge England a little bit. Javen, we'll go to you next. What did you make of England versus Switzerland?
Well, unfortunate that England were not able to exceed Scotland's record against Switzerland in normal time. Unfortunate. But no, in all fairness, congrats to England because probably the best they've played so far this tournament. I think it's fair to say against a very good Switzerland side. They've been doing well themselves. Could have easily been them, but it ended up being England, of course, and England needed to play well to make that happen. Saka absolutely deserved his goal. I think he's been one of England's best players over the course of the tournament. I think he's probably an unsung hero for England at the moment with his performances, his willingness to play in positions that you wouldn't normally find him in previous games as well. So to see him pull off a goal that we're used to seeing him score week in, week out for Arsenal, is kind of his signature move, really, to score the kind of goal that he did score. It was really good to see for him, and the confidence that he had to take his penalty in the penalty shootout the way that he did, because he went, as far as I can recall, in the same direction as the fateful penalty that ended up getting saved in Euro 2020. The confidence he had to do that, he seemed very sure of himself. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And he took it really well. So all credit to him and to England for winning the game.
Thank you. And Jed, I know you've been dying to wait for this moment.
No, I did predict it to be 1-1. I knew it was going to be a tight game, pressure on both teams. But the Swiss were a good team, and they did well, especially going front as well when Embolo scored that goal. That was getting on the end of it. He did well there. But then Saka, instantly England hit back, which is the attacking now. They miss. They tend to stick quite defensive until they go a goal down, and we've seen that. But which is good, positive in some ways, because it's the ability to react that is important in winning games. Whereas before, when they went in front, they kind of sit back and defend a lot. But it's improved slightly over the previous. So if it keeps getting better and better, they might win the final. Who knows? But it was an exciting game. I went with quite a few watches, so I enjoyed the performance. And on pens, I was going to say they've got a very good record now recently, England. Last time they faced Switzerland, they beat them on pens. I also think they beat Colombia in the World Cup. On pens. It was composed, fantastic penalties from every single player. But go for Switzerland. They played really well, and they did themselves credit. But in the end, England managed to scrape the win. So
I have to agree with you. I feel like England in this tournament, from what I've seen, obviously I usually get nervous when it gets to penalties. I think most people do anyway, no matter who you support, who your favorite teams are. But I do think that we're starting to improve on our penalties. Obviously England was always known for that team, if they get to penalties they're most likely going to be out, but I think we're kind of turning that around now, and we're starting to actually be more confident with the penalties. As you rightly said, Javen, just a few moments ago when Saka took his penalty, I think for most people watching that game, who wanted England to go through especially, and people that have seen Saka's penalty in the previous game against Italy in the previous final, everyone was extra okay, Saka, you have to score this, please. And when he did, I think it was just a massive confidence boost for himself as well. I think, back in his mind, he's still going to have that penalty miss there. That's just something that never really leaves you as a player, I can imagine. And always can be a little bit of a confidence knock, especially going into a penalty shootout like that. But I think he handled it really well. Cole Palmer as well. I think he handled it really well. And of course, obviously, Trent had only been brought on the pitch like 5 minutes prior. And you kind of get a bit wary, just like João Felix with the Portugal shootout. He missed his penalty. He hadn't played much of the game, had a bit of a warm-up, perhaps. And I was kind of thinking, out of everybody to miss a penalty, it could be Trent because he's not warmed into the game yet. But thankfully, he put that one away with confidence, absolutely leathered it into the back of the net. But there we go. So we'll move on to the final game now of the quarterfinals that happened. It's Netherlands versus Turkey. We'll start with Javen this time because I know Turkey was a personal favourite and a dark horse for you. What did you think of that game, Javen?
I actually don't have much to say, really. All I want to say is, I like both teams. Okay, I like the Netherlands. I like Turkey. It's just the Netherlands had made me a bit doubtful. I felt like they wasted too many chances in previous games. So I thought, maybe they had some weaknesses there that Turkey could take advantage of because Turkey have had such great chemistry. They've played so well with so much spirit, and I don't know. I just thought maybe they'd be the fairy tale story of the tournament in a way, and that they might get to the semi-finals. But apparently, that was a bridge too far for them. Yeah, Turkey won. Netherlands won deservedly, and I think Netherlands will be. Yeah, I'm jumping the gun a bit, but I think Netherlands will be a good match for England.
Yeah,
absolutely. Go on, Jed. What do you think?
Well, when that first the Turkey goal went in, I was like, Josh is going to have to start moving.
I know. I was getting my suitcase ready to go. Kaylee was going to be like, couldn't wait for me to leave. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, but it was good, and the Turks played really well. Their striker Yilmaz, outstanding. He gave him from his all game. But in the end, the Netherlands are strong. De Vries, good header, set them back on the straight. It's going to be interesting to see. I won't touch on Netherlands too much because we're going to talk about that. But Netherlands could be they're quite dark horses. They've never been favourites to win it, which is surprising, really, considering the quality they have. But Gakpo is top scorer, I think, at the moment, or joint top scorer. He could be dangerous in scoring again, and he was unlucky not to score against Turkey. The Gunok had a good game, the goalie for Turkey. But but I predicted Netherlands to win 3-1, not 2-1. But yeah, Turkey made it hard for them, definitely.
Absolutely. And Jack, what did you think of that game?
I thought personally that Netherlands played really well, and I wanted Netherlands to win. I know for some people Turkey was a dark horse, and they did do well. I will say Turkey, went the distance. They showed their class, and they really nailed down. They put the foot on the gas and was like, right, we're going to show how good of a team we are, and that you don't obviously need all the world class players in the world to make it. And it is unfortunate that they did go out, obviously, to an own goal as well, which sucks to the highest degree for the Turkish fans because they could have took Netherlands to, penalties, I reckon. Maybe even gone on to win in extra time. But both sides played really well. Gakpo, he's been a standout player for me. I think Gakpo has been the best player of the tournament, to be honest. Yeah. I'll be honest. Behind Musiala, Cody Gakpo has been quite the standout. So yeah, I think Netherlands deserve to win that game.
Yeah, he's definitely up there with the Golden Boot as well, isn't he? Like you said, Jed, I can't remember if he's joint top scorer, if he's actually gone ahead now. I think he would have gone ahead if that. Yeah, would he have gone? He'd have gone ahead if that wasn't disallowed. That goal, no, because not disallowed. Sorry, but made an own goal. He would have gone top if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate that was an actual own goal, like you said, Jack, as well. But I thought it was a long time coming for Turkey watching the game. I think the last 20 minutes of the game, especially, it was end to end. It was end to end football. Realistically, the last 20 minutes was. It was an unbelievable second half. I do think the Netherlands, though, like you say, deserve to win it. Their attacking threat this tournament has almost kind of reminded me of Spain, with how they sort of build up to their goals. They're a very sort of, they know each other very well. You can see that in how they play with the back heel flicks and things like that as well. And they play very fluid football, especially up to this point in the tournament. And like you say, I do think they're going to be the hardest team for England in the next round. And it'd be a very, very good test for us as well, to see how we get on. Because I don't think we've beat a top 10 team for a good while. England, I don't actually know when it was. If any of you do know, obviously let me know. But I can't remember the last time it was we beat a team ranked top 10 in the FIFA rankings. So, like I say, yeah, it'll be definitely a good next round. And speaking of the next round, we'll go into predictions then, unless, of course, anyone else wants to mention anything before that about the round we've just been talking about. But the next round that we've got, of course, is the semi-finals. We've got Spain versus France, and of course, Netherlands versus England. We'll go with you first, Jack, as you are the guest on today's episode. We'll have a little bit of insight knowledge as to what you think. Which game do you want to start with?
I'll start with England. I think England and Netherlands, it's going to be one of the best games of the tournament, to be honest, because neither side's going to want to give up. Mainly Cody Gakpo, for his sake. He wants to be the top scorer. He wants to be the standout. And I think Netherlands do have the capability to go to the final and to actually win it as well, maybe even. England also, I think if Gareth Southgate plays the same play as he did and gets the players to play the same way they did against Switzerland, they definitely could beat the Netherlands. They have the
quality
to do it, and the players to do it as well. I think Harry Kane has been a bit lackluster this tournament. I think Bellingham's the standout for England this year. I think maybe switch it up as well. Like, don't play like the same midfielders.
Yeah.
But we'll see how England fare, and I think that both teams have a chance of going through. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a clear winner, but it'll definitely be a great game.
Yeah.
Which midfield will drop? Did you say? You said change midfield.
Yeah. I think
Bellingham are doing well now.
Yeah, I think keep Bellingham up there. I think maybe double with Eze a bit in midfield because he's playing well as well, and he was the standout for Crystal Palace last season in the Premier League. So I think if we play Eze a little bit, get a bit of like more young feet on the field, it might work for Southgate. But we'll see. It's a very tight game to call, and there's definitely no clear winner in those two.
Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could play Eze on the left because he does all right cutting in. But yeah, I've predicted 1-1 for this game because it's very tight. I think the Netherlands probably just edge it, but with how defensive England are playing, it's going to go right to the wire. I think it does depend on fitness and whoever can last the longest. But we know, I don't think Netherlands have been to extra time yet, or have they? They've won. I think they've won both their games in normal time.
Yeah, they won. Yeah, it's 2-1 Turkey, 3-0 Romania. They lost to Austria 3-2, and then they drew to France in the one of the first few games.
Yeah. So England have played more minutes, considering both theirs has gone to extra time. But they have the depth. They can bring on plenty of subs. But Southgate will probably stick with the same general 11, make a tweak here and there. But
yeah,
it's really tight. I can't really call it, so I've just chickened out and gone 1-1. I was going to put 2-1 Netherlands, but I'd like to see more pens, more drama. And also, one for Jack, Brian Brobby could make an appearance. Imagine. That'd be scary for England.
Yeah, the Brian Robbie, the absolute goat. He's just better than everyone. He is.
He's a beast. There
Mm.
we go.
And Javen, what are your predictions for the semi-finals?
Seeing as we're talking about England first, I think Netherlands could easily, not easily, but Netherlands could very feasibly beat England. They've definitely got the quality to do so, but I actually think England will win it. I think we'll see England in the final. I think that England will be very frustrating to play against for the Netherlands. I think they will kind of suffocate a lot of the Netherlands' attacking threat because England have been learning, I think, in recent games how to play at their best. What I saw against Switzerland made me think that they are getting their act together and they're quite a solid unit for the most part. So, yeah, I think England will just about edge it. If I had to guess a score, I don't know, 2-1 England.
Yeah.
And I think they will face Spain, who I think will
Mm.
beat France. Well, I desperately hope Spain will beat France anyway.
Yeah, no, for my predictions, I've gone 2-1, excuse me, 2-1 Spain. I can't really see anybody beating Spain at the moment, to be honest with you. Their team is just ridiculously good. France are still yet to score a goal in open play yet, so that goes in as a bit of a disadvantage to them. For the England game, I've gone with a 2-2 draw to go into extra time because I feel like the Netherlands are going to push England very hard, and I think they will score first, and that will then obviously make England retaliate, goes to 1-1, and then I can really see it, like I say, going to kind of a bit of a draw, but both teams pushing each other. I think it's very even. Their last 5 games, for example, Netherlands have only lost 1 game in their last 5. England have won 5 and drew 3. So, sorry, did I say 1? 1-2 and drew 3 even. So it's quite an even game, like you guys have mentioned. So uh, with England, how they've been playing as well, they've been kind of waiting for extra time or almost extra time to actually win the game in the first place. So I think it'll either be a last minute winner for either team. Obviously, I hope England do go through to the next round. And yeah, I think for the final for myself, I've gone with a England Spain final, but I have gone with Spain to beat England because you got to be realistic. As much as I want England to win, I don't think really we're going to get anything out of Spain if we do face them in the final. You know, if we of course do even get there in the first place. So yeah, it's going to be a tasty couple of games to look forward to over the next few days. But there we go. Awesome. So that's a summary then of the quarterfinals and the semi-finals.
I was going
Go
to
on.
mention Spain. Me and Jack haven't
Oh, of
mentioned
course, you
Spain.
never did, you? That's me about to move on to the next round. Go on, Jed.
But
What do you think about the
I'll
Spain-France game? It's up to you. You want to go first or
I'll
Jack?
quickly review it because I just think Spain's going to be too good for France. Even though the defense is good, I put Spain are going to beat them 1-0. France still won't score in open play unless they get a penalty or something.
Or an own goal?
And
It's
then
still
in
not
the
open
final,
play. Yeah.
yeah. So it'll just, yeah. But in reality, any of these teams can win. They're all very capable of winning the European Championship. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But Spain are definitely favourites.
Hmm. Go on, Jack.
I agree with Jed, to be honest. I think that Spain are the standout team at the moment. I really do. I think that Spain can go all the way and definitely win it. That maybe a tough game could come ahead with England. I don't know. But I think Spain definitely could go the distance. They'll demolish France if
Yeah.
France don't defend and park the bus like they have in previous games. But I think Spain could definitely take it. Yeah, they've been the standout team. They've been fantastic. So I think Spain. beat France and go all the way.
Yeah, the only thing really you mentioned earlier about Koundé as well being like a standout player. The only time I thought he wasn't a standout player in a game, that is, was against Portugal, because I feel like Rafael Leao absolutely turned him inside out, like left, right, and centre. Doesn't matter if he cut inside or he ran past him. It was almost like he was just jogging past him. But yeah, it's like you say, he has been a very good player, Koundé. Really, up until that last game, he's been one of their standouts, along with I think Theo Hernandez as well. So he's been really, really good. But yeah, obviously Kylian Mbappe still yet to really make an impact at the tournament. He might pull it out of the bag in the in the next game, but who knows? Was there anything you wanted to add to that game, Javen? France,
No.
Spain. There we go then. And with hello, and then with that, then Javen, we will go on to your segment of let's come to your point now, where you can take over, and we're going to do a little bit of a this and that about England's players. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it goes all the way back to the 60s. I think it was, Javen, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, so what I've got here are, according to 442, the 25 best English footballers ever. So we'll go through these. What I'll do is I'll start with I'll go clockwise on my screen. I would start with Jed and ask him this player or that player, and then I'll move on to Jack, and I'll move on to Josh. It's be pretty self-explanatory, but we'll make a start anyway. So, Gary Lineker or Alan Shearer?
Oh, two great pundits. No chance I'm picking Alan Shearer. I think Alan. Are we talking England or are we talking Premier League or just in general?
England. Specifically thinking of them as an England player.
Typically for England, Alan Shearer wasn't very effective. But in the Premier League, he was amazing. But yeah, for that, Gary Lineker, he did well in '86, I think it was. But yeah, Alan Shearer didn't really have. We had loads of strikers in England at that point in the late '90s, early 2000s. It was Owen was better than him though. But yeah, I'm going to go for Gary Lineker. Football heritage.
You can't really go wrong with either of them, can you? Jack, Alan Shearer or David Beckham?
Oh, okay.
So I picked Gary Lineker.
Oh, sorry, you picked Gary Lineker. My mistake. I'm very tired. Right, Gary Lineker or David Beckham?
I think David Beckham, definitely. I think he stood out for both club and country. Gary Lineker really only stood out for just country. I think David Beckham, brilliant free kick taker. I think that he, was a good all-round player for Manchester United and for England, and even out of England as well, in like places like Real Madrid, AC Milan. Towards the end of his career, he obviously wasn't as good as what he used to be, but I think Beckham was a better player overall.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, David Beckham was absolutely class. He really was. And he had a great redemption story too, didn't he? Okay, Josh. David Beckham or Paul Gascoigne?
Oh man. Goodness me, if I'm not mistaken as well, David Beckham has made just over, I think it's quite a few, over just 100 and something caps for England as well. So he's made more caps, if I'm not mistaken. Paul Gascoigne, I can't remember exactly how many caps he made, but I don't think it was a lot compared to Beckham. But that is such a tough two players to go for. Why have you done this to me?
I mean, Gascoigne is best known for probably Euro '96.
Yeah.
Probably didn't have as long an England career as David Beckham, but people say, you know, in his heyday, he was unplayable. Just had
Yeah,
a
well,
very short-lived career due to issues.
issues that we cannot mention on this podcast.
Oh man, Paul
So it's a bit of a
Gascoigne
personal preference, really.
I don't know. This is a tough one. I think this is so tough. Beckham has scored more goals than him as well. But again, this is so tough. Why is this falling to me, this question? This is like, it's like picking between two children. Who you think your favourite is?
Well, one no an icon on FIFA, Josh, so let's tell you something.
No, I know, but I would have to go with David Beckham. I feel like he had more of, and I know Paul Gascoigne was a fantastic player, and at times, as you say, was unplayable. But if we're talking about overall and how many tournaments they've, been involved in, and the, just the sheer sort of aura around them, I'd have to go with, Beckham, because he's played longer as well. So yeah, I'd probably just have to go for just edge over with Beckham, like, for that decision between the two of them. But that is a tough one.
I think you might have upset an entire generation of England fans. Yeah. Depending on how old the fan is.
I know.
What were you saying there, Jed? Sorry.
Oh, I'm wait. He's made it difficult for me now because I would have gone for Beckham as well, but that's probably because the age me and Josh are. We grew up watching David Beckham, and Gascoigne was like when we were being born, so I don't really remember '96 very well. But exactly. 2000 onwards.
I mean, they're all good players in this list. And speaking of which, we'll move back to you, Jed. So, David Beckham or Gordon Banks?
So, how save this one?
He made an outrageous save from Pele at the 1970 World Cup.
And he won the World Cup the time before that.
Between the sticks for England's finest hour, their 1966 World Cup triumph. FIFA Goalkeeper of the Year 6 years in a row between 1966 and 71. 6 years in a row, he was the Goalkeeper of the Year.
He's really pushing this one.
But yeah, him or David Beckham. Very different.
What controversial? Pele was washed anyway. No, Gordon Banks was a brilliant keeper. But Beckham was fantastic as well. He was a leader. Before my time, I have watched the 1966 World Cup highlights, and he was very good. but
the highlights.
Jordan could have done the same job.
I'll be baffled if you watched it live, mate. To be honest, you have to clarify you watched the highlights.
But I think personal bias. I think we have to go for Beckham as well. But it's not just personal bias. Beckham was fantastic, best free kick taker. If you'd asked me to pick one or the other in the team, I'd say there's more goalies that can say the same thing as Gordon Banks, even though he's a great keeper. England have had many great keepers in the past, but there's no one with the technique and the free kick specialist of like Beckham that England have ever had, I don't think, in our history. So Jack's not happy. He wanted me to go with Banks.
The problem is the reason why I disagree with you there is because he literally won the World Cup in 1966. You can't, like, to me personally, I'd have gone with Banks. I know he's not an outfield player, but goalkeepers win you games or lose you the games 9 times out of 10 as well.
It'd be hard though to pick a goalkeeper over, someone like David Beckham, though. Regardless of their achievements, sometimes I've heard some people say it'd be a real tragedy if a goalkeeper won the Ballon d'Or because that says a lot about the attacking players.
Yeah, but the thing, I think the goalkeeper should have their own award, to be honest with you. But the thing is, as in like, no, but I mean like, how it's the Ballon d'Or and goalkeepers can still be in it. I think that goalkeepers shouldn't be in it and should have their own like number one, like just, you know what I mean? Like I know they have the Golden Glove, but it's it's like the Ballon d'Or there still can be nominated for it as well. But they're never going to win against an outfield player. And that's where I
But
disagreed with you there, because it's like, yes,
didn't
yes, Beckham was like one of the best passers and crossers and free kick takers ever. But it's like, if you put David Beckham in Gordon Banks' position, he's not going to do the same job. And if you put Gordon Banks in the same position that David Beckham is, they're not going to play the same, and they're both going to be terrible in each other's positions. So I feel like, yeah, for that one, I would definitely have gone with Gordon Banks.
why didn't
For
you
me,
pick? He nearly won the Euros with England.
yeah, I know, but you know,
Yeah.
for me, that was more an obvious choice. But anyway, go on, Javen, continue.
Moving
Well,
on.
then
So we're
I've got more arguing at one point though. Then why not just pick the whole 1966 team? Not the whole of the 1966 team are not better than any other England player, are they? It's as a team that they won it, and also the time period. So that's my argument. Carry on, then, Jack's turn.
Yeah, I know, but
Jack's
Here we go.
falling asleep. Right. So we're still on David Beckham, yeah? Just checking. Right. Okay.
Spin him off.
Oh my days. It's so hard not to give my opinion on these. David Beckham or Jimmy Greaves. Now, just for
Well-
anyone who's not familiar with Jimmy Greaves, he scored a record 357 top flight goals for Spurs and Chelsea. First division top scorer no fewer than 6 times. He lost his place in the England squad to Geoff Hurst in the 1966 World Cup final only because of injury. So that's the only reason he didn't get a winner's medal. But he has 44 goals in 57 caps for England, which is very efficient, it's fair to say. So, yes, David Beckham or Jimmy Greaves.
It's just typical that I had to get that one. I see from what you've told me, Jimmy Greaves was a great player. Obviously, I've never seen him play because I'm not as old as Jed, so I don't watch like 1960 highlights. But I think, see, for me, I'd say Beckham because of what he did. But if Jimmy Greaves achieved all that he did and won the 1966 World Cup, it's got to be him, hasn't it? Because he's achieved more in the space of, his time with England and his time with club. He's done a lot more. So I think, Beckham, like Josh said, Beckham is a great free kick taker. He's a great passer, but it's just like individual awards as well. It's not just based on how he played, it's his individual awards. And I think Jimmy Greaves tops that over Beckham. So I'll go with Jimmy Greaves on that one.
Fair enough. It's not easy when it's a player that you've not like grown up watching, and so you can only really go from what other people have said about them or facts and figures that you read online. But I think you went with the right choice there. Not wanting to sway the vote, but Josh, Jimmy Greaves or Wayne Rooney?
Oh,
I mean, let's be honest.
I believe Wayne Rooney's still the record England goal scorer now, because I think he broke the record for most England goals scored. Did he not? I'm sure he did. I thought he broke Shearer's record, something like that.
in your description.
I don't really feel like there's much time to waste on this one, to be honest with you. I feel like Jimmy Greaves, England won the World Cup without him, right? Not saying that he was a bad player in any way, shape, or form, but they achieved greatness without him being in the team. So he wasn't really an influential player in that particular end of that particular tournament as well. Obviously not to say that he wasn't a good player, but I'd go with Rooney for that one, to be honest with you. because it's just Wayne Rooney. He's iconic. Like, even more so, in my opinion. Obviously, more so for our generation, of people growing up. But I still think overall, he's the better player. More physicality unmatched as well. Could pretty much score on both feet. Free kicks were good. Delivery was good. Passing, shooting. In his prime, Rooney was actually, quite fast as well. So I feel like he was that all-round player that you want. And that's why I'd go more so with Wayne Rooney on that decision.
I'd agree with a lot of what you say there, but I think it's fair to say as well that Wayne Rooney didn't have as glittery a career with England as he did with the likes of Manchester United.
Yeah.
Whereas Jimmy Greaves, at least up to the final, played a pivotal role in England's success. So it's a tough one. They're both strikers and they're both, huge players in England's history. So it's understandable why he could go for either, really. But Wayne Rooney is Josh's choice. So that takes us back to Jed. Wayne Rooney or Harry Kane?
Ooh. Well, it's hard to surpass Rooney, really, because he's the only person that's got more caps than is Peter Shilton, and he is the England record scorer now. Maybe Harry Kane will change that. He's still got potential to go. I feel like there's no one that can really.
Jed, you better make the right decision here. You better hard.
Or
no pressure, like.
Harry Kane is fantastic, though, even though he's got some bad performances. But if we're talking England career, technically no one's had a better one than Rooney. Kane's had a good one. And if we're talking tournaments, he has got them further than Rooney has ever in any tournament. Just because Rooney scored more goals. It's not me. I don't know. How many goals has Harry Kane got for England?
Jack's dying. I think Jack wishes he had this round.
Well, I really don't want to go with Rooney because I don't think anyone can beat Rooney. But so Harry Kane England goals. 65 goals in 96 appearances. What, Rooney's got 53. So has Harry Kane broke the...
Harry Kane broke the record. Harry Kane broke the record. I forgot when it was.
I forgot when he broke the record. Okay. Well, looks like Harry Kane's had a better career then. Let's go with Harry Kane. But Rooney was the youngest after World Cup broke his record, and he had a decent career. But I think Kane's has had a better career for England than Rooney. They've got farther in all the tournaments.
He became England's all-time leading goal scorer, it says, after netting his 54th goal for the nation in Thursday's Euro 2024 qualifier against Italy. So he's only done it very recently, but yeah, that is a tough decision. You could argue either way, really. If this question was who's the better player, I'd say Wayne Rooney, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Who's at the better? It's based on
If we could have prime Wayne Rooney in our team now up front, or Harry Kane, I'd pick Wayne Rooney every single day of the week. You could argue that Kane, as you say, has reached further in tournaments than Wayne Rooney has, more consistently. I would have probably gone with Wayne Rooney. But again, you can argue both sides. I could imagine Jack's
we went
on
with
his camera.
Jimmy Greaves because of his record, so I'm going to go with Harry Kane because of his record. So
I suppose, but he can also win the World Cup.
I admit Rooney in his prime was a better player than Kane, but Kane is a better poacher. He scores more goals, and he's just in the stalwart. So I've got to go for Kane over Rooney. Sorry, Rooney. Controversial, I know.
It's not my vote, but I'd take Rooney over Kane any day. But yeah,
Jack, who would you have taken?
Garner.
Well. First of all, Jed, you're a madman. Rooney, right? There's no way you take Kane over Rooney. There's no way any day of the week.
If it was club career, Rooney every day. But this is Javen specified. This is England players for their England career. So I've got to go with
True.
You just said yeah, I mean, best England players. Yeah,
Saying that, I'd
it's a
probably-
personal opinion, really. I mean, did Rooney fail with England because it was his fault or because it was the team's fault? You could also argue that.
Jack's like,
Precisely.
Right, next player.
Move
Let's go.
Okay, we're getting towards the end now. Harry Kane or Bobby Moore?
Okay.
Bobby is
It's just getting
Let's do this in order,
isn't
mate.
it?
So Bobby Moore was a defender who won the 1966 World Cup. I think he's the one that lifts his whole trophy in that famous picture.
Yeah.
Pele called him the greatest defender he ever faced.
washed.
So Bobby Moore or Harry Kane? Who do you have in your England side?
Well, I don't like Harry Kane, but I have to admire how good he is. I suppose I'd have to go Harry Kane but then, Bobby Moore's won the World Cup, and to be called the greatest defender you've played against by Pele, who is arguably one of the greatest footballers of all time, is a big feat, to be fair. That's like a big achievement in itself. So that's a very hard one. But as much as I detest him, I'll have to go Harry Kane because he's done more individually. Bobby Moore did it with a team. Harry Kane did it,
By himself.
Harry Kane versus Germany.
Well, yeah, because
Right.
if you take like everything he did for Tottenham, that was just him and Son. It wasn't them as a collective. It was just him. He was the star man.
The
So-
team let him down.
Yeah. It's the team that let him down. But then, other people would argue Harry Kane went to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich aren't a bad team. They've got the players, and he still hasn't won a trophy. So it's a tough one to say. It's a tough decision to make. But I'll go Harry Kane just for the satisfaction of others.
Yeah, gone for you've gone for goals over a boring defense, basically, which is understandable. I mean, Harry Kane's one of the best finishers ever, really, in England history when it comes to scoring goals. But that leaves us with you, Josh. Last one: Harry Kane or Bobby Charlton?
It's
Again,
Bobby
19
Charlton, mate.
Again,
I'm going Bobby
1966
Charlton.
winner. But
It's
yeah.
Bobby Charlton, mate. But the reason why is because just Bobby Charlton was just absolutely just an incredible player. He just the way he moved on the pitch, dribble, he had everything you want as a forward as well. He wasn't necessarily really, really physical, but he was that good. He didn't really need to be physical because he just danced past everybody as well. Will I be talking about Kane after this Euros? No, unless he somehow does anything good. Yes, he scored the goal in the previous game, but other than that, no one can deny that he's been dead boring, and people have been saying this for years. It's almost like it is almost a miracle that he's England's top goal scorer, because you look at him in tournaments and you're like, how has this man managed to score this many goals? And it's like every time you watch him play, it's like I'd rather watch anybody else play. But that's just his play style, obviously, but you have to go with Bobby Charlton there. Fantastic career with England, winning the World Cup, obviously. It was England's leading goal scorer until Wayne Rooney beat him and surpassed him.
The Ballon d'Or winner as well.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ballon d'Or winner. I forgot about that. It has to be Bobby Charlton. It has to be. Has to be.
He also scored the most non-penalty goals for England. So
I know.
Fair enough. We'll give it to Bobby.
I think that's a
Bobby.
fairly safe choice there after a few perhaps not so safe
I know.
moments during this quiz. We ended up with classic Bobby Charlton. It's very hard to argue against, until another England player's won a World Cup. It's hard to argue against that generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better.
So well done. There's no winner. You're all winners to me. Other than
Jack got the hardest one.
I know. Well, then there we go, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast episode. Was it 4 now? Is it? I always get mixed up, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Nevertheless, of course, let us know in the comments what you guys thought about your this and that predictions, who you would have gone with as well. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe as always. It's good to have you, Jack, as well with us for our first guest of the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. I know.
Yeah,
awesome.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. It's nice to hear everyone's takes on things as well.
I know.
As well as my own. So yeah.
I know some
Pleasure to-
controversial decisions were made.
I'm sure the comments are gonna, but
Well,
I'll fight them all. It's fine. I'll have them all outside the
Keyboard warrior.
Yeah, keyboard warrior.
Awesome. But it was. Go on.
That's without talking about FFP as well. When we start on the Prem, it was more controversial.
Save that for when the new season starts.
Absolutely, a lot to talk about there, but good to have you all on as always. As I say, Jack, good to see you as well for this podcast episode. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the next episode. See you all later.